Hello, this is KRBrickBot, and this is the highlight of my Sir Toys haul. The one set I was looking forward to getting the most. The Chinese versions of hellokabbot Super Patron, Patron and Dire. Patron is HCL number 10 and Dyre is HCL number 11. Yeah, so there's the instructions for the combination, and each of them have the sheets for the 4-in-1 combination. Oh yeah, it looks like there's also a little pack-in catalog flyer that you don't see much these days. Carbot family. Well, that's nice. Yeah, so just, that small roster of characters. And Chetan's looking like he's half the size of a bus. And a floating crop stick. So this is the entire hellokabbot lineup in China. Season 1 with their upgrades, minus Hawk. The Season 2 lineup, minus Meister and the One-Step Trio. The Kung lineup of the first wave with their box packaging instead of blister packaging. In the center is the China original Elite versions, the Season 1 characters with Hot Sale. The other simplified downscaled ones and the ones from Season 4 and the ones from Season 3, but it looks like they also released the original bigger K-Cops but is discontinued along with the first hellokabbot watch. Now onto the hellokabbot second watch. And some coming soon stuff, I assume, with silhouettes that already exist. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Chinese Patron and Chinese Dyre are like one-to-one downsizings of the big toys, but still a pretty lengthy American bus. And a big long fire truck, airport style. My biggest nitpick gripe with the Korean set is that while the smaller partners are deluxe sized, this makes them disproportionately bigger to deluxes or in scale with the MP scale up. So they were combiner teams out of scale with each other. You'll either have tiny cars or very big bus and very big fire truck. But this size works much better with the conventional model scale 132 deluxe car size. Yeah, so slightly wider than a normal car, and still long as ever. So yeah, that's a big plus for a more accurate, consistent scale. But since their partners were also proportionately downscaled with them... Whoops, wrong one. They're quite small. Skid is now quite small. Small. About 148, 143 scale small. In scale with the out-of-scale Volkswagen Bumblebee. And the Leap is proportionately a very small ambulance. Yeah, I don't think they should be this small. Small ambulance. Okay, for a quick transformation. That's it. That's the transformation. This Chinese set, Skid and Leap can only transform into vest modes. I'm not so upset that this doesn't have any individual robot modes since they're just out-of-scale accessories. Also, she still has a back port here for some reason, even though it's never used for the combiner mode. Patron transformation is pretty much the same. Except these panels are still as long as ever. Take out the weapon storage. Nice clickety ratchets. And weapon. Patron, the school bus transformer that doesn't quite look like a school bus at first glance, making a very interesting transformation and appearance. His paint decals, mostly they all look the same as the bigger Patron. Though that Carbot, golden Carbot symbol there is looking a little sloppy. There's just 3 points of simplification. One, As you see, his arms are really gappy now, unsightly gappy now. The big one actually had a small panel to at least cover that, but the panel went right over here. This bit here is just stuck on here just to simplify that piece. Also, this thing has no paint inside. There's no red striping here to color break it. Copyright 2020 Choi Rock and 2020 entire made in China. But I guess at least that makes one less obvious panel line that unnaturally breaks up the windows, so it's just a more natural break in the windows. If the vehicle mode is more your thing than the robot mode having big empty arm gaps. Second, his mystery stick is just one big stick painted gray in the shaft, and the top magical girl style staff. This kind of, yeah, but it's facing sideways. And the thing is not slidable. Even though I think this extra shaft extension could have fit in the bus mode, but yeah, it's just permanently molded sideways, so it doesn't look good facing front. So you have to intentionally position it for this thing to display good. Although, yeah, so on this side, it doesn't look good, really. Especially with those hollow arm cannons. I don't think they were that hollow on the bigger one. And his little wings only have one joint at them. The bigger one had a second hinge so it could tilt slightly back, give more arm clearance, but yeah, just one hinge on that palm milky white plastic stopper, but yeah, just one hinge. That's a minor simplification. Articulation's just about the same. Full head swivel, full shoulder swivel without the wings. Outward, bicep swivels, and the transformational wrist. And his very unusually constructed combining splitting skirts with that ratchet in there. But he has no knee joints. They omitted the knee joints. No place for knee joints, so he just stiff leg walking. I'm not sure if I want to really cut a notch in there to give him a knee joint. Combination into Patron S, just take split skid apart into two big solid blocks with no robot mode into a vest. Just click it over there. That's a really loud click, and take his little Simon bar, just pop it on his forehead. Patron with a police car vest. What else is there? With no obvious cut seam lines that would indicate another mode. Though when taking this off, the back connection is really tight, so yeah. Oh yeah, that works, but and other times, yeah, just click that in and it's kind of hard to get in and kind of hard to get out. Okay, to transform Dyre. Panel down, split so that these little tabs can unlatch to form the back. Split and turn, auto spring head reveal, turn around. And ladder equip. The wide chunky Firebot is on point with his paint details in the yellow and the green and the somewhat simplified Carbot logo. Yeah, but the simple colors are all there, so this is pretty on point. The points of simplifications are his arms. Just like Patron, he has big honking arm gaps. Because the panels that would cover those arm gaps are just molded and fused right in there. They just did not want to give extra parts for arm covering flaps. But at least that just gives it more articulation. Oh yeah, and the next thing, yeah, this thing doesn't really fix in really well. The back wheels are pinned wheels, but the front wheels are ring wheels with a hole in them to put in the accessory, but the inner part turns too. What's the point of that? What's the point of having a ring wheel if this thing is just gonna turn as well? Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, just so this thing can spin freely while this thing just turns in with friction, but this thing shouldn't have friction because it just makes the ladder all floppy. Oh yeah, and the ladder. The base is all floppy. There's just not enough friction in there. And no amount of tape or rubber tape is gonna jam enough to just friction that in place, so yeah. Yeah, that's kind of cheap. The plastic's not cheap, but the tolerance friction is. The shoulder water jets are printed, but this red warning stripe and the R shoulders are factory applied stickers. These are really papery feeling stickers. Not sure if that would have been better at a separate sheet, but yeah, but they're pretty well factory applied except for this side, but yeah. Cost saving stickers instead of print. Articulation's mostly the same as the big Dyre, full swivel head, arm joints with the shoulders, biceps, and wrist and elbows on really tight ratcheted elbows. And the legs do have forward and backward on those nice ratchets and outward. No thighs like so, but no knees. Oh, come on, no knees. And the thing is, these are two separate pieces. They're not like one piece fused to be permanent stiff legs. So I cracked this open and yeah, it looks like it has a round socket but just square stoppers in the legs and the red tab. So you know what that means? He has a working knee now, held in by friction and a little click stopper here naturally built in, and a little bit of friction from the shaved nubs. Sure, that might make his combined mode a little unstable, top backward heavy, but I'd rather have a robot with working knees than just another Super Sentai standing statue looking thing. And the neck joint, the spring-loaded neck joint doesn't have any extra locking, so it probably should sit around like this, yeah, up to here, but yeah, right here, it should sit up right to here, but it goes all the way up here, which looks really weird and disconnected on its own, which can only be remedied by putting on his vest. And here's Leap as a vest. Just split it out with this very simple white back, and yeah, just vest it on. Fortunately, the back is not as tight as that skid, so yeah, just simple tabs there. Siphon on his head. And the roof turns into a little crossbow. And since this arm port doesn't do any good, I'll just plug it in the hand. Dyre X. Yeah, the crossbow is also simplified. It doesn't have any shaft that connects us all in one piece. It's just 3 separate pieces, which could go further like this, which is not intentional. And yeah, just a little arrow piece separate there. And the other side is looking really plain, no yellow, no extra flip out red wingtips to really just make it look like a bow and not just a car roof splayed out in this fashion. Not 5mm compatible, so there's no option to give the bigger leaves, proper leaves crossbow to this smaller Dyre. So size comparing, they're at the sweet middle point between the War for Cybertron leaders and the traditional leaders. So they are like tall and as wide, big chonky leaders. Yeah, so pretty big, but not too big, as I'm assuming the original Korean ones are nearly as tall as this combiner here, which would be kind of impressive, but at the same time doesn't quite make sense for the school bus and fire truck. Yeah, but I like this scale for these two big bots. Combination time. It's just about the same as the big Super Patron combination with some simple simplifications. Yeah, just put those arms, press the button in the back to detach and slide up the shoulders that will become big stomper boots. There are no extra folding panels to latch and lock these extra feet pieces in place. They're just held in by these two. I hope you don't make that fall off. No extra flip out foot toe either. But otherwise, that's the tall leg mode. Just about the same with Patron. Just flip up the feet, turn these into the shoulder cannon arms, do the full splits, latch the back of the shoulders into the wings, which is kind of a little more iffy with the somewhat thinner feeling plastic squares of this thing. So spring load, lock it in. These arm stubs used to actually secure in, but it really does it on the simplified version, though you can just really just friction rub it in to raise the shoulders a bit and just give it a little more tension, locking tension in there. Which, as a result, makes this thing really spring out of its non-springy release buttons. And arm up the top with a whole bunch of extra accessories. Although this one, unlike the bigger one, has a Carbot symbol that is perfectly cut to one side instead of perfectly split, so putting in this hand is really not good. It really doesn't really work. So really, only this hand is the option for the mystery stick. This one has a big cutout. And here's Super Patron in his double stacker combiner with 2 car vest glory. Big, tall glory, but slightly shorter. And standing tall in Mighty Guard and Chaos, but not nearly as tall as Combiner Wars Devastator, which to some, a construction vehicle team is still oversized and they prefer the smaller knockoff version. It's mostly the same as the bigger Super Patron with just a few simplified caveats. Yeah, I suppose the ratchets are fine enough with the modified knee friction joints. Yeah, but yeah, it's still a little loose, and also the feet are less secure, but pretty secure enough. But the arms don't have that much weight. They're not ratcheted, they're just frictioned in. Also, yeah, these side feet holes, they don't hold in the weapons really well because these are 2 split pieces and creating exactly half of a hole, so less friction and tension there. And putting tape in there still looks ugly, yeah, so those are 2 big letdowns in the arms. The shoulders are wrong, but correctly. Can you see, yeah, it has the Carbot symbols there that should form shoulder details, but in all the toy photos, the screw is on the right way, so yeah, that's like a little hidden bonus. And I guess I'm gonna have to do some more reassembly to make them face forward again. Oh, it doesn't look like this kind of joint would make it possible for him to have a elbow and knee joint. But he can get a side-to-side bicep swivel. With those modified joints, he can't do an elbow curl, but at least he can do a wrist curl and a finger pointing like motion. He can do it like a side pointing motion, that's a little better. So Super Patron is easily my best and favorite of the hellokarbot L Elite combiners. It has the basic upper and lower articulation joints with easy modifications. It also has the luxury of being 2 toys in one and thus can afford the extra joints. Unlike Pentastorm with his working upper body but non-existent hips, or Mighty Guard and Chaos with their basic working legs but non-existent shoulders. Also, it's kind of unusual that the entire Chinese Carbot didn't make a smaller downsized Road Saver, just a regular version. And I wonder if they'll do a downsized Hyperbuildian team. The smaller Playskool red dump truck and a smaller blue driller with 4 tiny construction vehicles that just turn into armor bits and heads. And the 2 of these together is like half the price of one of the bigger Korean ones. So yeah, you can get this thing for less than $100 instead of the bigger full Super Patron set for $200 plus. That said, this is more of a 2-in-1 with 2 leaders and 2 car accessories than the 4-in-1, which is like 2 commanders and 2 deluxes. So if you're a CHUG scale nut completionist, you're gonna have to get both sets for the CHUG scale accurate Patron and Dire and the bigger set for the CHUG accurate Skid and Leap. But like, who buys an entire 100 plus box set just for 1 deluxe? Who buys Omega Supreme just for the exclusive countdown? So if you can only get 1 set, I guess it'll just depend on which mode you prioritize. The pretty common police and ambulance deluxes with better plastic but less articulation, or the pretty uncommon bus and airport fire truck, which are big leaders. So my recommendation is get the more affordable Chinese set if you just care about the bus and fire truck combiner. Or pay double and get the full package if you really don't care about the size of your combiners that are out of whack scale anyway, and just want this thing to be as tall as possible, with some bonus deluxes in there. Or you could just buy one of them if you really don't care about one half or the other. More likely, you could just get Patron the bus because, you know, bus transformers. So in that case, I think the Chinese version would just be more affordable since they're like 40 to 50 each, than just 100 for the big bus and the little police car. Whichever way you choose, you can head over to Sir Toys or AliExpress to get this version, or the other Korean shopping sites to get the bigger package. Links in the description.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe and tune in for the next time I eventually import some more Korean stuff months later.